Welcome back to Fox Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain the movie The Night Clerk, released in the year 2020. The movie revolves around a boy named Bart who has Asperger's syndrome. He lives with his mother and works as a night clerk at a hotel. He has set surveillance cameras in his hotel rooms to observe people and practice speech and gestures since he has a difficult time relating to others socially. The movie starts with Bart looking at some footage of people inside the hotel rooms. As Bart goes through the videos, he observes different people dealing with their everyday lives and imitates the way they speak to practice. Meanwhile, he hears from his mother that dinner is ready. Surprisingly, he even watches his mother via cameras and avoids being physically present with her. Since he lives in a basement room, his mother places a plate of food at the stairs and goes back to the dining table. As she eats her dinner, Bart observes her gestures and imitates her while having the food. Later that night, Bart leaves for his work at the hotel, and his mother watches him from the window as he drives. After parking his car, he meets his boss on the way, who tries to engage in an awkward conversation with Bart. Here, we realize that Bart actually has trouble interacting with people. Afterwards, Bart tries to pass his time moving here and there, since the hotel is not busy and there are no new check-ins. He even sniffs a magazine at a point. As it is already midnight and new customers are unlikely to check in, Bart takes a nap under the table. Meanwhile, a lady named Karen arrives at the hotel to check in. Karen asks for a reservation under the name Peretti. Before heading up to her room, Karen asks Bart if the room is nice. Bart explains all the amenities included in the room by reading it from the computer screen, as it's difficult for him to interact normally. While Karen asks for 2 card keys, Bart notices small details about her jewelry and the way she talks. He then deduces that she is a rich and polite person, and hence upgrades her to a better room. In the following scene, we see Bart watching over Karen through the surveillance cameras he has placed all around her room. As Karen slips into a robe and lies in bed to drink wine, Bart observes her from the front desk in his iPad. Soon, he sees someone knocking at the balcony door of Karen's room. Although the man's face is not clear in the footage, Bart can see him interacting with Karen. The man looks shocked and disappointed to see Karen there. While Bart continues to watch the footage, his colleague Jack arrives for his morning shift and catches Bart watching the video. However, Jack assumes it's porn and asks Bart to leave and replaces him for the next shift. Afterwards, Bart drives to the gas station and to a convenience store where he buys some ice creams and heads back to his home. Later at his basement room, Bart goes through the live footage of Karen's room. While he watches the video, he imitates whatever Karen is speaking. She asks the man to pretend to love her and taunts him for being involved with another girl. She also mentions that she texted the other girl from the man's phone, saying he will not be able to meet her. Suddenly, the situation gets bad and the man starts beating Karen aggressively. Amidst the commotion, a gun drops from Karen's bag and Bart sees it in the footage. Taken aback, he immediately calls the hotel's front desk, but can't talk due to panic. With no options left, he rushes back to the hotel. In order to reach the room and stop something bad from happening, Bart parks his car in the side entrance and walks into the hallway towards the room. At the same time, Jack, who's out smoking, sees Bart's car parked and assumes that he's not left the hotel yet. All of a sudden, he hears a gunshot and runs towards the room. There, he finds Bart sitting in the bed while Karen's dead body is lying on the ground. Terrified, Jack asks Bart to not touch anything and goes outside to call 911. However, Bart, who can't resist blood, touches it and wipes it on the bedsheet. Following this, he takes out all the storage cards from the hidden cameras around the room, but unknowingly drops one in a corner. The next morning, Detective Espada interrogates the hotel owner, Ron, about Bart. Ron mentions that Bart has been working for 3 years at the hotel and has never been in trouble. Furthermore, he explains that despite his health condition, Bart is smart and capable. When Espada walks towards Bart, he immediately starts babbling about his whereabouts. Hearing his way of talking, Espada gets to know about his Asperger's condition. Bart reveals that he went home after buying ice cream at the convenience store and returned back as he realized that he left his wallet at work near the vending machine. This shocks the detective, and he asks Bart about how he bought the ice cream without his wallet. This time, Bart has no answer. Later, Bart is taken to the police station and Espada talks with Karen's husband at his office. Karen's husband asks if Bart knows something about the murder, and he also reveals that Karen owned a handgun for her protection. Finding his wife dead at a hotel, he questions himself what she was doing there at midnight. Afterwards, Bart's mother arrives at the station and argues with Espada for bringing Bart to the station despite his fragility. Furthermore, she tells Espada that he will have to talk to their lawyer the next time. After berating him, she takes Bart home. Later, she asks Bart if he has anything to tell her and that she will always support him. However, Bart simply leans his head for a kiss and walks towards his basement room. That night, Espada tries to research more about Bart's Asperger's condition. Meanwhile, Bart re-watches the footage of Karen's room and discovers that the man in the video has a bird tattoo on his arm. The following day, Bart's boss shifts him to a different location of the hotel. Since the hotel is small, it's not that busy. On his first shift, he meets a new customer, Andrea Rivera, who recognizes that Bart has Asperger's condition. She politely talks to him and checks into a room. Later, we get to know that Bart has a hidden camera in his tie to shoot Andrea. After getting back home, Bart looks at the video of Andrea talking with him in the front desk and practices how to talk. As he goes through the video, he seems to find Andrea attractive. The next morning, as Bart is about to get in his car, he sees Espada spying on him. Scared, he awkwardly makes his way to a grocery store, where he runs into Andrea. As they talk, Bart says he's socially awkward, and Andrea comforts him by saying that he's smart and also has a job. She also reveals that her brother had the same condition but was worse. He was institutionalized for a long time and passed away. As the two talk, Bart becomes comfortable and reveals that he watches people, imitates them, and practices how to talk. However, he doesn't mention about the cameras he has set up. Later, when Bart goes back home, he finds that one storage card is missing. To add to his misery, Espada has found the card in the hotel room. When Espada shows the footage to Karen's husband, the latter says that he can barely recognize her since it's the camera footage from the plug, which only shows videos beneath the knee. He then tells Espada to arrest Bart since he was the one who got to the crime scene first. However, Espada says that he has no proof to hold him captive. Afterwards, Espada calls in Jack for further investigation. Jack reveals that when he reached the front desk, he saw Bart watching some footage that looked like one from their hotel's room. However, he thought it was porn. Later that night, Andrea arrives back at the hotel. Bart mentions that her room's AC has been fixed. However, it turns out that he has fixed the hidden cameras in her room. After a stressful evening, Andrea drinks inside her room and Bart watches her from the front desk. A while later, she goes to the pool to swim and also asks Bart to join her. In the following scene, they sit by the pool and talk. As they get along, Bart asks her about the man that dropped her off at the hotel and kissed her. She doesn't answer, but questions him back if he has a girlfriend. Since he's perceived as odd, unsophisticated, naive, unfashionable, and stupid by most people, he explains that he doesn't have a girlfriend. When Andrea asks what's going on inside his mind, Bart kisses her and starts to panic after that. However, she comforts him by saying everything is okay and asks him to sit near her. As she caresses him, she describes to him that loneliness makes people do crazy things. Saying this much, she kisses him back. Thus, Bart feels comfortable and lies down on her lap. Andrea then reveals that she's in love with a married man and has been secretly seeing him for a long time. But now she thinks everything is confusing and complicated. Bart, who has started to get fond of Andrea, claims that he can be her lifeguard. Hearing this, Andrea has teary eyes and takes a leave to her room and bids him good night. The following day, Bart tries to make himself appear better for Andrea, so he gets a haircut and buys a new suit, car, and perfume. However, when he goes to the hotel to meet Andrea, he sees her with another man. Surprisingly, it's the same man who killed Karen, as he recognizes the tattoo on his arm. Wasting no time, Bart returns home to inspect. But unfortunately, Espada and his team have arrived to check Bart's computers and cameras for investigation. After a bit of investigation, the detectives find the hard drives empty and confront Bart about it. However, in an awkward fashion, Bart simply replies that he deletes his stuff from time to time. After Espada leaves, Bart retrieves a hidden hard drive and looks at Andrea's footage of the hotel room with the same man in her bed. The next morning, a devastated Bart lies in bed and refuses to go to work. Hence, his mother comes to his room and comforts him. She encourages him to get back to his life even after hurdles. Surprisingly, Bart comes out of his basement room, joins his mother for lunch, and they eat together on the dining table. Later that night, we see Karen's husband Nick and Andrea talking in a car. Here we get to know that he's the man Andrea was talking about earlier with Bart. This concludes that Nick is the one who murdered Karen. The next morning, Andrea visits Bart at his house. Bart explains that he's heartbroken because of her actions, prompting Andrea to apologize to him. She then mentions that if things were different, they could have been together. Before leaving, she also promises to not bother him ever again. Meanwhile, Espada is outside Bart's house spying, and he notices Andrea leaving. The same night, Bart watches the footage in Andrea's room. When he sees Nick assaulting her, he rushes to the hotel and enters the room. Seeing him, Nick is taken aback and immediately flees from the hotel. After this, Bart discloses his ugly secret to Andrea. He shows the hidden cameras to her, leaving her speechless. Although Andrea is enraged that he was spying on her, Bart calms her down, mentioning that he has something bigger to show. Following this, he takes her to his house and shows her the recording from Karen's room. After watching the footage, Andrea is terrified and asks Bart if he's shown the video to anyone, and Bart says no. Meanwhile, she starts to cry since she can't decide what to do next. Bart consoles her and tells her to take rest. Soon, the duo cuddle and sleep together in Bart's bed. The following morning, Bart finds Andrea waiting for him with her suitcase packed. She says that she's leaving and asks Bart to join her. When he talks to her, he realizes that he doesn't have a problem making eye contact with her. The two then start making out romantically, but just then, Bart wakes up and realizes that it was all just a dream. In reality, Andrea has escaped with the hard drive, which had the copy of the recording of Karen's murder. Moreover, he finds that Andrea has left Karen's gun on his bed. Meanwhile, Espada goes to Andrea's hotel room and finds the towel with blood and also the hidden camera in her luggage. Elsewhere, Andrea gives the hard drive to Nick, and they get in a car to escape out of town. Here, we get to know that Andrea and Nick are actually lovers, and they had conspired to clean up any clues that Nick had left during the murder. In the following scene, after hearing some gunshots, Bart's mother calls the police for help. When Espada arrives at Bart's house, he finds footage of Karen's murder playing along with several other storage cards. Espada also finds a note from Bart, which mentions that he should have given the proof earlier. At the end, Nick and Andrea are pulled over by the police on the street and arrested. Meanwhile, Bart walks inside a mall and observes people, practicing the conversations he had previously observed in his footage. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this, and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.